Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. In today's episode, we're getting down to the truth as to what happened with those 10,000 cattle that just suddenly died in the state of Kansas. Now, before we jump into this episode, as always, if you want to join us here at the Bald Brad Show or heck support a conservative, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. It really does help us grow at the show, so your help would be greatly appreciated. With that being said, I've been sitting on this story since that initial video came out of just showing all those cattle laying on their backs dead. And then you had all the conspiracy theories come out. You had the UFO community saying that they've been abducted and slaughtered and all sorts of stuff taking place. You had the supernatural community, the paranormal. Everybody wanted to get their hands on this to see really what took place because it seemed preposterous that 10,000 cattle would literally just die all at the same time. We don't hear things like that. But we had to wait just a bit till all the evidence came out. What did the local community members say? What did other farmers say? Who investigated the cattle themselves? What was going on with them? That's what we're going to find out right now. It says high temperatures in the Midwest recently caused thousands of cattle to die, prompting some to start asking questions as to what caused the sudden death. What the hell happened? Clay Scott lives in Kansas and used to own cattle. He discussed the situation with the Daily Wire, saying it was a freak of nature thing, and this type of situation has happened in the past due to local climate. He said it happens once in a while every 20 years or so, where the weather quickly increases temperature. There had been a few days in a row of high temperatures, and the cattle had a difficult time getting cooled off. And you might be thinking, well, what the hell? If this happened in the past, the cattle were able to cool off before, not really have an issue. You know, there's always fluctuations in temperature, especially in that type of climate in Kansas. So what happened? Was it aliens? Was it the supernatural? Or was there something more natural to this? Obviously, as you would expect, there's something more natural. He also explained that since May was abnormally cold, a lot of cattle still had their winter coats. The easy explanation he added was that it was really hot. It was also really humid, but there was no breeze. We had a heat down burst, which he explained is a rare and not uncommon spike in temperatures in the morning. In some circumstances, the animals had almost a full winter coat. He noted that it was sad that several thousand animals died in the region, but pointed out that there are several million cattle in that area of the world, although the number seems large. So it wasn't aliens. It wasn't some sort of abduction or some sort of harm that the rancher or farmer did on the cattle. It wasn't animal cruelty. It was just a freak of nature. It was a sad set of circumstances where you had their winter coats still enabled, if that's what you want to call it, enabled. And this huge fluctuation in temperature took place, which was crazy within itself, which was rare as well. And they just couldn't cool down and literally just died. It goes on to say, in some circumstances, again, the animals had a full winter coat, but he said a local veterinarian pointed out on Twitter the heat index scores for cattle. And he said that for the 3 days in a row, the lethal heat amount for cattle was exceeded. But it only took until the third day when we had that heat event that really spiked the numbers. So you have a lethal heat, you have cattle that haven't got rid of their coat because it had been cold, you have a random fluctuation in temperature, so they couldn't cool down. It took a matter of days, and then by the third day, it just got super bad. So they've been sitting in this for days, and it finally got its toll on them, and they just keeled over. Scott said it hurts the people who raise the animals more than just a paycheck. They don't like to see it because they work so hard, and you work with animals every day. You want to see them do their best they can. You don't want to see anybody suffer, so I know several of those guys are a little dejected. It's kind of like a flood of fire. You know, it wasn't anything they could control, but yet they suffer the consequences of it. And not just the consequence of the scenario and going through something like that, but they were getting a lot of heat from the community, not the community in Kansas, just outside people that don't really understand, that don't want to wait for all the evidence to come out. You know, maybe some of these PETA supporters or others going, oh, animal cruelty, look what you're doing to these animals. You know, this is why you should be vegan and all these things, blah, blah, blah. Where it's like, me, that's why I just wanted to sit on it and be like, well, what was going on? Was it really animal cruelty? Were they not giving them water? Were they not being fed? You know, was it some sort of, poisoning? What the hell is taking place here? And, it's natural. It's nature. This is what happens. The particular type of cattle that died were the heavy ones that are used to be on the range. Scott noted and are the last to get rid of their winter coats. They were also from the northern rather than the southern regions. 99.9% of the time you bring these cattle south, nothing ever matters of it. And he said, adding that at a one-time event, something like this could happen. So it's just an anomaly. That's all it was. No aliens, nothing crazy. But it goes on to say that the Kansas Department of Health and Environment said that at least 2,000 head of cattle died to a heat and humidity as of Tuesday last week, spokesperson Matthew Laura said. The calculation came from the number of carcasses the agency had been requested to help diagnose of. You had originally, the Daily Wire reported that as many as 10,000 died in the midst of a triple-digit temperature in Kansas. But you also had the AG Web, which is a farming journal, came out and said the amount of cows could be as many as 10,000. So there is some discrepancy in the numbers here, but either way, it is a ton of cattle, folks, and it is not a good thing that happened. But I thought it was interesting because you almost kind of want it to be supernatural. You almost want it to be some sort of alien abduction just for it to be a cool story. It's a terrible thing that happened. I love animals. I grew up with animals, cats, dogs, fish, turtles, birds, iguanas, everything. I grew up with everything. So I'm a big animal lover. I love eating meat, so I'm sorry if you're vegetarian. But at the same time, I love paranormal. I love supernatural stuff. That's why we do Supernatural Saturdays. If you haven't heard of that, make sure you check the Supernatural Saturdays out. We are not going to discontinue that. We are going to continue Supernatural Saturdays here on the Bald Brad Show. But you almost wish that there was some alien abduction, some weird stuff going on where little green men came down and was experimenting on them, kind of here on that Skinwalker Ranch, which I think is in Utah. But anywho, let me know what you guys think about this. Freak of nature, that is the truth. Nothing crazy, unfortunately, other than a fluctuation of temperature. And that's going to probably make all the climate change alarmist people come out of the woodwork, see, look what they're doing, and probably unify with PETA and get all crazy. And then we got to hear about that. So let me know what you think about all this in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me here on the Bald Brad Show. I will have another episode out for you tomorrow regarding Joe Biden's war with the oil industry. Stay tuned for that. And folks, I will see you later here on the Bald Brad Show.